Warhammer, a tabletop game that in the early 90s piqued my interest as a young lad. In the 90s, oh, the 90s. How I miss you when I was a child and life was easy and bills were not a thing yet. Reminiscing. Anyways, back to this. So fast forward many years later and Warhammer was adapted into many games. Actually, some were from the 90s, but I didn't know that when I was young. And here we are taking a look at one that came out 2011 actually and still holds up really well. This is Warhammer 40k Space Marines. Alright, so let's get into this video, and right off the hop, yes, I have a cold. My apologies. I tried waiting it out and it has been a week and a half and I have given up on that, and I am going through with this video because I said I would. So right off the hop, I'm going to more talk about gameplay mechanics, the graphics, lore, how everything looks and performs. So it will be a fairly spoiler-free review. However, I will mention a little bit about the game and how it starts and some of the enemies you will experience. So there will be mild spoilers. I don't know if you would even call them that, as it's just basic gameplay. I mean, if you know anything about Warhammer, you're going to have a general idea about a lot of this anyhow. So when you first start the game, you will be greeted to this sort of loading screen you see here, which will load into a nice fancy little cinematic showing your main character that you will be, Titus. He is a Ultramarine with a couple of his buddies, Sergeant Sidonus, Leandros, and then a little bit later in the game you meet Second Lieutenant Mira. These are your three main characters you will experience through most of the game, who will aid you or give you information or objectives as you progress.
Captain Titus, the Orks have massacred the Forge World's forces, and they have taken the planetary defense weapons.
Clever of the damned Orks. Keeps us off their backs while they loot the Titan war machines.
Brace for evasive maneuvers.
Pilot, report!
Starboard engine is dead, Sergeant. We are losing altitude.
Get the ship to safety and find another way down.
After that lovely cinematic, you are treated to the first part of the game, which is you running around killing small amounts of orcs and just learning the basics of the controls. You'll be equipped with a small bolt pistol. You'll be equipped with a small bolt pistol and a little knife, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. I'm sure people who are way deeper in the Warhammer lore know there's a name for that knife and they're going to criticize me. That's okay. You start off with a bolt pistol and this knife. The bolt pistol is single shot, as quick as you can pull the trigger. And as you progress later through the levels, you will upgrade into larger and more unique weapons depending on the situation and who you're fighting. So if I wanted to review this game in basically 30 seconds, the easiest thing I could say is if you've played Gears of War, this game is Gears of War without a cover system. And I guess there's an argument that Gears of War did like the chainsword first and Warhammer copied it, but then I would say when Warhammer came out even before that and they had them in the model form, and then someone else pointed out that that was actually copied from something else, so who knows, who really cares. But yes, this is basically Gears of War without a cover system. I'll get more into that in a little bit. Basically, like I said, you have your gun and then you have your melee weapon. You run through and you slay orcs. You kill the green skins in a violent fashion. I love it. And there's actually no health in this game. You have a shield that gets depleted and then your health starts to go down. And when you lose health, you regain it by stunning enemies and doing excellent executions like this. There are tons, and I mean tons, of executions in this game. Playing through the whole game, I don't think I quite figured them all out, as I was seeing new ones all the time with just different button pushes or depending on where you are in the environment. Most of the times though, it was stomping their head like you saw there, or you use a chainsword to cut them in half. You know what, I'll throw a little montage up of some just Warhammer 40k Space Marine just decimations of enemies. As you see, these executions are done in just a beautiful, violent, gory fashion. I know there's more gore to modern games nowadays, but this was pretty good for 2011. A lot of different ways you could go at it, and it was just fun. You really feel like you had a lot of power when you smashed through these guys like this. Now, this game is available, if anyone's interested, on Steam, and you can get it on Xbox 360 or PS3. PS3 is the most expensive version to buy it on. I see it ranging from $18 to $25. Xbox 360, I see it ranging more from around $10 to $15, and then Steam, it sits at around, I believe it was $24, but it goes on sale a lot, so you know, it's stuff always goes on sale. Put it on your watch list. I would recommend the PC version because you can crank it all the way up to 4K, and it looks a lot better and performs better than the PS3 or the Xbox 360 version. If you're going to compare Xbox 360 to PS3, Xbox 360 had a little better frame rates, ran a little smoother, but visually, the PS3 looked a little better. Oh, this one was one of my favorites for the violence. Just cuts it off with a chainsword. No big deal. So as you can tell by this next lovely execution, you do start to fight the Chaos Space Marines and Chaos Demons later on in the game, after you've slayed many greenskins. This is where I actually start to have a little bit of problems with this game. They didn't give you any sort of cover system, and later in the game when you're fighting Chaos Space Marines and they are shooting at you with high caliber weaponry, you realize how much you need cover. I mean, you can kind of stand back in corners and look around to still hit them, but there's no real cover at all. And that's the only really time this game feels difficult, and not from like a challenging aspect, but more just from a design flaw, where if you could just duck and pop up to shoot, it would have made all the difference in the world for the shooting aspect. The Orks, you don't notice it. Even with the shooting ones, you can just kind of slay through them, and it's a lot of fun. It's still fun with the Chaos Space Marines. It's lacking that cover. Now, the story is fun and everything in this game. It's not very in-depth. It's pretty basic. You're trying to stop the Orks. You're trying to stop the Space Marines. You're on the giant Manufactorum planet. You're working with the Imperial Guard. There's a couple more surprises. Again, I don't want to ruin it for anyone that does enjoy Warhammer, or even if you don't enjoy Warhammer, you'd probably still enjoy this game if you like Gears of War, kind of a third-person shooter like this. But one of the next very fun things of this game is the online multiplayer. It has so much fun customization with the colors and the armor loadouts and different add-ons to the armor and the weapons. You can play as Chaos. It is a ton of fun. Now, I didn't play it on Xbox 360 or PS3, so I don't know if those servers are still up or if it is even crossplay. But on PC, I was able to still jump into some online games. As you can see here, you have a select ton of chapters to choose from. But the whole thing is a ton of fun. Now, you might have to look a little bit to find some online games. The odd time I had to wait, 3 to 5 minutes. But most times I was able to jump into one right away and start playing. Now, the game I was able to get into the easiest was Exterminatus. You have Exterminatus and you have Versus. Exterminatus, I believe I'm saying it right, is kind of what it sounds like. It's just extermination, survival. It's you and I believe up to 4 other players, which I'm going to jump in this one here and show you, and you just go at it with waves of Orks and then eventually waves of Chaos, and there's boss waves that come at you, and you get points for killing them and doing different types of kills, and then you got to get your ammo and you pick your different classes. It gets very challenging as they start coming in really hard at you. But Exterminatus is the one that I was almost always able to just jump into a game very quickly, where Versus, every so often I'd have to wait, but it was still a lot of fun with Versus too. Now, one of the neat things about Exterminatus is you have your lives there in the bottom left corner, but that is not just your lives, that is lives for the whole team. So if you die, you use up a life on your whole team. Now, through scoring points and killing many a foe, well, that sounds awfully loud, doesn't it? My apologies, folks. I live out in the country, for anyone that doesn't know. It's farm season. Farmers are loud. Can't blame them. They feed us. I like living out in the country. It has its perks. It has its disadvantages, like long drives and very loud tractors and trucks. Anyways, moving back on to Exterminatus. You kill through waves of enemies. that's how you get your points. You pick up grenades and ammo. When you get points, you get added lives and bonuses, and you just keep going. And as you see there, you purge the enemies for your points. It's a fun game. It's very cooperative. I didn't catch many games with guys with mics. And then the other one, like I said, a little harder to get into is the different versus modes, whether it be team deathmatch or capture points. Your basic online ones, if you've played an online multiplayer game, you know, like Call of Duty or anything, it's all your, whether you call it domination, capture the flag, capture the objectives, whatever. It has those. It has free for all. It has team deathmatches. All a lot of fun. All worth checking out. I don't know how long the servers will be up after making this. This game did come out in 2011. But I mean, they're still running and there's still active players on it. It is, however, a shame that we are not going to get a sequel to these games. While this game has a little bit of its flaws and there's certain points where it feels a little rushed, like I'm sure they probably wanted to add a cover mechanism to it, there was a lot to it and there was a ton of potential for this game, I think, to be great and to have great sequels and really expand on the multiplayer and the customization, because those of you that know Warhammer know the amount of color schemes and customizations and armor plates and badges and armies that you could really get into. You could have a lot of fun with it. Unfortunately, THQ and Relic no longer exist. They're gone. They got bought up. They went bankrupt. It was a big merger deal. Some rights were lost. And I don't believe there will be any way in us ever seeing a sequel to this game, which I don't want to give any spoilers, but forewarn to anyone that plays through it, it does leave it on a little bit of a cliffhanger, like they could extend the storyline, and you won't find out. If you do want to know more, though, some of the original creators did explain how the other two sequels would have went with Titus and how it would have progressed. Again, I don't want to give away the story. If you guys want to check it out, I'll leave a link down below, and you can feel free to read through and see how the other ones would have went if you need closure for the fact that this game will never see a sequel. Now for weapons, as you progress through this game, you will unlock more and more weapons. You will have equipped a total of 4 that you just access if you're playing with a controller by pushing up, down, left, or right on the D-pad. You'll have your main bolter pistol, which can also be a plasma pistol that will be with you at all times. It never runs out of ammo. It can overheat when it's a plasma pistol, and it does have to be reloaded, but your ammo is infinite. You'll get a bolter machine gun, I guess if you want to call it. There's a las cannon, a plasma rifle, a plasma cannon. There's some heavy bolters you can rip off turrets and use. It's a chainsword, a hammer, an axe. I guess they're a power axe, power chainsword, power hammer, Thor's hammer. It basically looks like it. It lays lots of lightning down. It's fun when you have the jetpack on your back, or whatever you want to call it, the jump pack, I believe it's called in the Warhammer 40k world. And it's a lot of fun. There's more weapons than just that. Again, if you want to know, I'd say give it a play and try all the weapons out. They're a lot of fun. Each one has its own sort of unique ability. Some are good for close-up enemies rushing at you. Some are good for just picking off headshots from long distances. All of it's a lot of fun, though. It's worth checking out. It's worth digging into. When you upgrade it, you will get these little pods. They show up, you open them up. That's basically how you get your upgrades. You'll also get Fury upgrades. And what Fury is that glowing icon that's in the corner. And when it's full, you get to use Furied Rage attacks, where you slice through enemies and it gives you health as you just rage through them. It drains, though, and then you rebuild it by doing executions and just cutting through enemies again. Pretty much everything is just cutting through and mowing down enemies. So just to recap, it's a pretty good game. It's basically Gears of War without cover. It feels like the same sort of movement mechanics, which is not a bad thing in any way. Now, something I want to talk about this game that I think makes it worth getting is, as a lot of you know, we're still in a bit of a GPU crisis, and it is hard to get good graphics cards. And being that this is a older game, it can be played on much older or kind of, you know, lighter duty hardware, if you want to call it that. You don't need the best of the best to play this. You can push this game all the way up to 4K in ultra settings, and honestly, I did that with a Ryzen 7 3700X and an old XFX HD 7970 3 gigabit card. It's a good card. It'll still play a modern game on medium-low settings, but it maxed this thing out, getting well over 100 frames per second, and that was playing at pretty well full spec. So you could run this on a 1 gig graphics card and a dual core CPU if you wanted at 1080p and still have a very fun, playable experience. I would say even a little better than the Xbox 360 or the PS3 version. Again, I didn't play them, but I can't imagine their servers being up. Maybe Microsoft, they're a little better with that. PlayStation, we all know they probably shut those servers down 2 years after this game came out. Just knowing how PlayStation does their thing. That's not a knock. I am a PlayStation fan. But if you're going to go for any of them, I would say put it on the watch list for Steam and wait for it to go on sale. Pick it up that way. You can play it in higher resolutions than 720p, which is all you're going to get out of PS3 and Xbox 360. And you can run it on a pretty low spec machine. Even a pretty lackluster laptop will run this in okay settings if you're, willing to bump down the resolution and play at low. But it's a ton of fun. Put it on your watch list. I'd say if it goes on sale, definitely recommend picking it up. Also, if you prefer, this game can be played with controller or keyboard and mouse. I had no issue on the PC playing with an Xbox 360, and the PS4 controller worked beautifully. And that is going to do it for this review. That is my opinion on it. This is what I think of the game. Out of a 10, I would give this game a 6.5 just because of the lack of cover and the fact there's going to be no sequel. That makes me upset. That being said, I would recommend it. I would 100% recommend it if it's on sale on Steam, especially if you're running a lower spec PC. I hope you enjoyed this review, guys. I like to give a review where I don't give away a lot of the actual game or the storyline. I think that's more fun for you guys to discover and figure out on yourself. I just want to let you know if the game is enjoyable, from my opinion, and if it's something that would be worth picking up, or if it would have been a buggy, graphical, glitchy mess, which this one is not. Thanks for watching, guys. If you're not already, subscribe for more. If you leave a like, it's much appreciated. It helps the channel out. I am a very, very new channel. I just started making these videos. I do stream on Twitch. It's still a little sporadic. I don't have a schedule set up yet, but it'll likely mostly be morning streams where I try and beat through the games and I track all the ones I beat them. And then after I beat them, I leave a review and I put it up on the YouTube. So again, guys, if you enjoyed, thanks so much for watching. If you want anything to say, please leave a comment down below. I'll definitely answer it, and I will see you all in the next video, hopefully sooner than later. Bye for now. Happy thoughts. Peace to everyone. See you around.